Absolutely. I'm really proud to be the first woman district attorney in Sonoma County, and I am considered to be the top law enforcement officer in Sonoma County because ultimately I will make a decision on cases. A police officer can go out and arrest somebody, but my office will decide whether or not to file charges on that individual. And my ultimate responsibility is to the citizens of Sonoma County. Law enforcement is historically a very male-oriented field. I encourage women to get involved in law enforcement. Unfortunately, we don't have enough women, in my opinion, involved. So it's really an honor as a woman to hold this position. And I'm only one of 12 out of 58 district attorneys in the state. So we're very much in the minority. And I'm very proud that I am sort of, I guess, breaking the glass ceiling in the area of law enforcement. The hardest part of my job is when I have to tell a victim we can't prove the case where they've been harmed because we just don't have enough evidence. My job is to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. It's the highest burden of proof in a courtroom. And sometimes if it's one person says one thing, another person says something else, you may not be able to prevail in court. And telling a victim that we can't take their case forward is really difficult. Sometimes we don't get the outcome that we would like. Either a jury will find the offender not guilty, or a judge will give a sentence less than we think appropriate. So again, we have to tell the victim we couldn't get the justice for them that we would like to get. Those are really challenges for me. Well, you know, when I was doing defense work, it was very challenging for me to defend people that had committed crimes, because most people who are prosecuted did what they are accused of doing. They did something. There are shades of gray in everything that we do. But I defended guilty people. That's what you do as a defense attorney. And you're not necessarily trying to get them off. You're trying to get the right resolution that's in the best interest of your client. It's a very challenging job, and I have great respect for defense attorneys as a result. But there were certain classes of crimes that I did not want to get involved in as a defense attorney, and that included child molesters and rapists. I represented one man accused of child molestation. It was a very, if you could say, minimal. It wasn't as serious of a child molest case as many others might be, and I swore that I just couldn't do it any longer. And the same, I never represented, I don't think I ever represented a rapist. So. I represented some people accused of domestic violence, and that was very difficult as well. Yeah, but it was my job. It was a job that I was very happy to change back to being a prosecutor because it suits my personality much more. The thing about being a prosecutor that is very different than being a defense attorney, I can do the right thing. As a defense attorney, all I can do is try and push the system to do the right thing. But I can't get the right outcome unless the system is willing to come along. As a prosecutor, I'm a voice for the people, and I have a lot more opportunity to do the right thing. And that's why it's a position that I feel more comfortable in. I hope not. I don't think I have. I think I have always engaged in my business professionally, and I think that I have always kept my emotion away from what I'm doing in terms of seeking justice, whether for my client or for the community. But have I been overcome by emotion? I have. One time, here's an example, I had to cross-examine, which means I had to question a domestic violence victim. And my job representing the person accused of harming this individual meant that I had to aggressively ask her questions. Well, it made me physically ill, and I was in the bathroom crying. I felt so bad about it. But I didn't show it in the courtroom. I did my job. So you hope that emotion won't get into it, but you also hope that in the business that I'm in, dealing with people's lives, you don't lose your sense of what is real, and that if you are overcome by emotion, you just display it in the appropriate setting. Because we're human beings, you know, it's what we are. I watched a woman testify about witnessing her boyfriend murdered by her brother, and it was very hard for me not to become emotional at that moment as she watched her brother, who she loved, who she grew up with, who she protected, murder the man who she thought she would spend the rest of her life with. That's pretty emotional. Or a woman who testifies about a man violating her while she's begging him to stop. Or a child who testifies about someone stealing her childhood because they're preying upon her. You know, those are pretty emotionally charged situations, but you try and do what's right for the case and right for the victims without letting your personal feelings enter into it. I think it's the best that we have. I've never seen a system that works better than the one that we have, which includes bringing in members of the community to decide whether or not somebody's guilty of a crime. I think the system can always improve. I think that it's incumbent upon all of us to do the best that we can. But I think that anybody accused of a crime has a right to be defended by somebody who is as capable as possible. I would want the same, and so would you. As I said, I represented people that were truly innocent. One was a man who got counterfeit money at the bank. Well, guess what? He didn't speak English. And so they didn't want to hear him when he said, but the bank gave me that money. Ultimately, we were able to show the bank did give him that money, and the case was dismissed. Very, very proud of the outcome of that case. Another case where a woman's ex-boyfriend used her credit card while he was with another woman who looked like her. So the police assumed my client was that woman. Ultimately, we were able to convince the prosecutor that indeed it wasn't her. If she had not had me as her attorney, she would have had somebody else. Would they have been as aggressive as I was in trying to show that she wasn't guilty? I don't know. But I'm glad that I was there to help her. And I think she remembers me to this day, and I remember her. So we all have a job to do. We can always do our jobs better. The system can always improve, and part of my responsibility is to do what I can to make sure that the system improves every day, so that when you are older and in the careers that you're in, you find that the criminal justice system is working as effectively and efficiently as it can to keep you all safe, because you're all jurors one day.
Hi, I'm Lisa Martin.
I'm Xiomara Alvarez.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Higgins.
I'm Brandon Escandon.
I'm Eric Carrillo.
I'm Francisco Cazares.